So if you had any kind of interaction with me in the last 4 years, you probably heard me talk about the Batman. Like, I'm a huge Batman fan. I literally wrote 2 songs about the Batman trailers, and I had this whole photo shoot where I actually dressed up like Robert Pattinson's Batman. And I nailed that. I mean, look at the hair. But yeah, make sure to check out the Batman trailer app because that's actually the very first video that started my channel 10 months ago. Please leave a like because it helps, or leave a comment because it helps even more. I got a bunch of Batman videos and original music on this channel as well, so please make sure you subscribe if you actually enjoy the content because it would like really help me out a ton. And now that we all expected this perfect, flawless Batman movie, did it actually hold up? I'll start off with the positive things first, because I think Robert Pattinson absolutely nailed it. Like, I think Robert Pattinson is the best on-screen Batman ever, no question. And he just really brought it. Like, you can totally tell it was really important to him. Zoe Kravitz was amazing. I didn't expect Catwoman to be this secondary character almost, but she's like literally the second main character, which is great because she's a great actress. Selina was a great character, and seeing Bruce and Catwoman interact was really interesting. I could honestly make a 20-minute video just praising the acting of every single actor in this movie, but Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, just amazing performances all around. Even Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright killed it too. If you ever faced off against Riddler in the Arkham games, you probably hate him. You don't really take him serious, and they really managed to take this pain in the ass, annoying character and really make him scary, you know, like the first appearance of the Riddler was already basically a jump scare. And my friends in the cinema actually turned to me and were like, dude, this is just Matt Reeves' Riddler. Like, imagine how scary Matt Reeves' Scarecrow would be. The story this movie told was just really interesting. This is exactly what a comic book movie should be, in my opinion. Like, this is the way it was shot. Like, every single second you could have taken a screenshot because the shot in question was just so beautiful. The cinematography was insane. It just looked so damn gorgeous. This movie really managed to just make me go, holy shit, that's Batman in the first 10 minutes. I think it's really interesting that there wasn't really any Bruce Wayne in this movie, which is great to me because I'm a way bigger fan of Batman. And my favorite Batman stories always have been stuff like The Dark Knight Returns or Batman Ego, where it's pretty clear that Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is who he actually is. So I really enjoy the movie just focusing on the Batman side of things. Little details like that he needs sunglasses when he goes out because he's been in a cave so long is amazing. Like, I love stuff like that. But I do have to say, there are certain shots and sequences where I think the Batsuit kind of looks stiff. Like, it doesn't feel as fluid as the BVS Batsuit did, even though I do prefer this design. Yet, when he was fighting or moving around, I do think that it looked stiff at times. And Batman actually spends a lot of time in this movie just walking around in daylight in public and not really caring who sees him, which is really interesting because you'd assume that Batman would like travel by shadows. And he kind of does in the beginning, but then he just like walks into a club, walks into a crime scene, walks next to the police officers. Like, he really doesn't care who sees him. And I get that it's to establish that he's like young and reckless and doesn't give a shit. But especially these are the sequences where I think the Batsuit looks especially clunky because you can see it in good lighting. And lighting does a lot when you're wearing a comic book suit. Yet I don't really hold it against Matt Reeves too much because I do think that that was the intention. I think showing how awkward or weird the suit would look in real life was the purpose of these scenes. Like, he walks into the crime scene and every officer is staring at him. Like, this is just how it would be in real life. They're all like, why is this grown man dressed like a bat at this crime scene? And it does feel weird. Yeah, but in the end, this movie actually did feel a lot more comic booky than I thought it would based on the first trailer. The first trailer seemed really serious and really dark, and then the second trailer was just like, here's a question mark in Riddler's cup, there's explosions, there are fight scenes, there's this and that, and there was just so much going on in the third act that it does feel like a slight tonal shift compared to the first 2 acts. Like, the first 2 acts of this movie are really focused, are really dark, are really just a detective story. And then in the end it escalates, which I guess makes sense since it has to be this grand finale. And I do think that's really interesting. Like, this is not criticism, this is just me trying to explain that it really does feel like a comic book. Like, this movie is exactly what I could show to my parents to give them the vibe of comic book Batman, because this is basically it. Like, it's dark, it's gritty, it's real, but at the same time there are fantastical elements and it just all kind of mixes together. Paul Dano completely killed it, and he was a lot more unhinged than I thought it would be. Like, I expected Arkham Riddler, but they kind of upped his outbursts to 10, and it really works. Like, it does seem like he's a little mentally ill, and him idolizing Batman and hating Bruce Wayne is just a great, like, I love these kind of situations. It's similar to Flash and Spider-Man. I think this is pretty much everything I can say non-spoiler. I really want to go into spoilers now, so this is your 5-second spoiler warning. The part where Batman just starts roasting him in his prison cell is fantastic. Riddler like thanking his community and subscribers and likes is so fucking funny to me. Like, I was laughing my ass off imagining Riddler just sitting at home editing videos exactly the same way that I'm doing. The fight scenes were all pretty good. Like, I do think his suit did seem stiff at times, definitely in the fight scenes, but he also got hit a lot, which I think is great because that's just how fighting is. Like, I fight, I know what fighting is like, and you do get hit. This Batman really just seemed like a force. Like, the way he walked into the club and just started beating up everyone. And I can definitely see why criminals should be scared of him. This movie really showcasing how good intentions can be turned bad. Riddler's followers thinking they're vengeance and thinking they're doing the right thing, even though like they have the same goals as Batman. It's really interesting. Like, I love that they went that way because this is totally realistic. You know, you do have people with good intentions escalating stuff in real life, and it just seemed very real to me, like especially in the times we're living in now. And I love that Bruce was like basically just disgusted at what they turned his intentions to, and realizing that he needs to give people hope instead of just scaring the living shit out of everybody. That's character development. The visual storytelling of Bruce and Catwoman riding their bikes alongside each other, and then like Catwoman has to turn and leave, was beautiful. Bruce looking back, I mean, come on, man. This is just a great movie. This is just a movie made by people who truly understand the character and truly care about the comics. I do have to say the pacing was actually pretty good. Like, this didn't feel like a 3-hour movie to me, and I would have very much enjoyed another 30 minutes. Best Batman movie of all time. I don't know if I would put it over The Dark Knight, to be honest, as a movie. The character Batman, yeah, I think Robert Pattinson's Batman is a way better Batman than Christian Bale. But I do think the movie The Dark Knight works better than this movie does, even though I love this movie. But I feel the whole trope of the adrenaline shot is corny because it's been done so many times. Like, I can think of 20 movies where the main character takes like an adrenaline shot just to keep going. And it doesn't even really make sense here because he's just using it to beat up this random guy that he met at the funeral. Like, Batman really needs an adrenaline shot to beat up this one henchman. Like, I thought he would like beat up the Riddler or something with that. But nah, he just needed it to beat up one random thug. And Riddler wasn't even there for the final confrontation. Like, I get it. I know that the Riddler doesn't have to be a physical threat. I'm just saying it would have made more sense cinematically. Penguin was dope though. Penguin actually really funny. Like, I didn't expect him to be this charismatic and funny, but he was. Like, he had me laughing in every scene he was in. Carmine was creepy and weird and old, and I hated him, but that was the point. And I think the plot twist with Bruce's parents, where you don't really know if they are good people or not, is really interesting as well, because they went the opposite way. I went in expecting Thomas Wayne to be evil based on the Telltale games and the movie Joker, for example. And then even the second trailer had Sins of My Father, you're a part of this too. So I went in thinking Thomas Wayne is gonna be evil and that Bruce Wayne is gonna be the rat. But nah, actually, Thomas Wayne was a good person who did a bad thing. Like, every single human being. And it's really interesting. That was a great plot twist. I do feel like Andy Serkis Alfred was a little underused. Like, he just appeared in 2 or 3 scenes at most in this movie. But overall, I'm extremely happy. Like, I think this is the best Batman movie. But there's one thing I truly hate, and that's the Joker scene. I don't want to judge too early, but I didn't like any of that. Like, I think Barry's voice is fine. Like, he did have a good Joker voice. I hated his laugh though. I hated that they just took the scene out of Gotham season 4 and did it worse. We already saw this, and it just annoys the shit out of me that we can't have a Batman movie without the Joker. Like, I don't want to see the Joker in this version. Like, it would have been so cool to me if they would have just skipped the Joker for this kind of franchise, and they would have went with Mr. Freeze. They could have done Scarecrow. Do you know how much I want to see a good Mad Hatter or Killer Croc on scene? And I'm not talking about big monster Killer Croc. Like, that's not my point. My point is a Killer Croc where we actually get to see his backstory, that he was bullied into being this monster. I love the Killer Croc who like just really wants to be left alone, and that's it. But nah, instead we're just getting the Joker for like the 10th time. Like, what are you gonna do that is gonna be different than what we already have seen? And that scene totally didn't fit the vibe of the movie either. Like, it felt like an editor's note where someone went, wait, we gotta tease the next movie, and then they just like edited that in post. So yeah, definitely not a fan of that. Everything else was pretty good though. Like, I'm happy. I think this movie, to sum it up, was everything I expected, and that's positive but negative as well, because it really didn't shock me. Like, I think you would do yourself a huge favor if you went into this movie not having watched any trailers, because everything that happened in the movie we saw in the trailer. And I did try my best to stay away from them, but I have a YouTube channel, so I gotta do these reaction videos to the trailers. I did watch 3 of them. I didn't watch any TV sports or nothing, but those showed even more footage. I give Pattinson a 15 out of 10. I give Zoe Kravitz a 15 out of 10. I give the cinematography a 15 out of 10, but this movie as a whole is a 9 out of 10, which is still great. But yeah, Robert Pattinson's Batman, definitely the best I've ever seen.